Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of the Penguin Episode 7 Top Hat. Please make sure to hit that sub button. It helps in so many ways, especially because we got the big finale episode coming up next week, so you're not going to want to miss a review for that. So this episode starts with a flashback I've been dying to see, is what happened with Oz's brothers, and we get to see what happened, and we meet young Francis here as well, who's played by Emily Mead, who is a staple in HBO shows like The Leftovers and The Deuce. And we see his brothers Benny and Jack for the first time, and they try to show you, with the short time we do see them, how envious Oz was of his brothers and the attention they were getting with his mom, and probably because he's insecure that they can walk and thinks that maybe his mom likes him less because of this. We also get to see for the first time the mobster he looks up to, Oz, Rex Calabrese, and you see how entranced he was by him. And again, with the envious moments of his brother, he's envious of his oldest brother that he's able to be the one who deals with Rex. I still believe, too, not just in this episode, but I feel like in the finale, we're still going to get some flashback scenes with Oz explaining just parts we haven't been told by Oz yet of how he transitioned to what he does now. But they went to go play hide and seek in the underground trolley station, and what his two brothers do is they hide into the lower section in the sewers, and Oz is offended and pissed by this because he knows it would be really hard for him to go down the ladder. So he slams the door shut and says, "Have fun getting out." He tells his mom that they went to the movies, so he doesn't even give a hint of where they really were to his mother. So it really takes a lot of sympathy you had for Oz, just deletes it now. And what I love they did is he watches Top Hat with his mom. So you're watching that movie while they're watching it. You see the cane, you see the top hat that the Penguin is known for in other iterations. So I feel like this is going to set up where he's going to get the inspiration and wear it, hopefully, by the end of the finale. And you see that character in the movie uses his cane as a gun. So all these things would be explaining what would inspire him. And all this is happening while his brothers are tragically drowning in the sewers. So I really love that opening flashback. I think that was such a clever reveal of how his brothers really died. And what it did, like I've said in my previous reviews, is it's honoring the Penguin as a villain. They are not making you feel a bunch of remorse for this guy. They're doing it the right way, where they're not making it feel like a different character. Now, in present day, the lights are back on for Oz, and a big theme of this show is that he moves up in his career. He gets things he wants in that sense. He's proud that he made that councilman do what he wanted him to do. But every time something is up from that sense, the people he loves get hurt. And that happens here, where he finds Vic is beat up and his mom is gone. Now, the last we actually see of Vic is he shoos Vic out of the window before Salvatore comes, and he tells him to go get the boys. But we don't see Vic again. And that's made clear later on because he asked one of the workers, "Have you seen Vic?" He says, "No, I'm getting only his voicemail." So I'm really interested to see what is going to go on with Vic in the finale, but he's going to have to be a big part of it because of where Oz ends up at the end, which we'll get to. But Salvatore comes to see Oz. He's like, "We got your family now." He's ready to get his revenge with Sofia. Speaking of Sofia, at first she thinks that Francis's hand is shaking because she's nervous, but we know she has a sickness, so that is the real cause of it. Francis would never be nervous in a situation like this. She says Oz is going to roast Sal and then you, and talks about how her son knows the game and she doesn't, basically calling her a poser. And then she says he's going to shoot a bullet through your head, and I'm going to tap on your grave like Ginger Rogers, who is the female star of that movie Top Hat, so that pays off there. But when Sofia asks her what happened to her other boys, it triggers her sickness. And Francis acts out what she feels like she's experiencing again, is being in a police station clearly the night her boys went missing. She's like, "You should be scouring streets, and you want to report for me?" No one has seen them at the movie. So that also tells you that Oz never eventually told her what really went down and where they were that night, which is fascinating. And props to the writing for that. And that's why I think it's more effective than the Sofia reveal not being the hangman, because that was just hinted at so much, where this was more of a great twist that got you like, oh my God, Oz really did that. So it hit harder to me. Now, another facet going on here is that Julian tells Sofia that Gia, who is her cousin, who's the only one she let survive from her gas attack, that sounds wrong, but says Gia wants to speak to the police. And she says she saw something that night. So he offers to be the one that speaks with her, but this is where instead Sofia wants to do it and actually hands him off to Francis. So we don't see the results of Julian talking to Francis, but that will probably come up next episode, that Francis might come off a little different to Penguin. Now, I want to go into the scene here where Sofia goes to the children's home to see Gia. And right there, she's getting flashbacks to her time in Arkham. So like father, like daughter, she puts someone she did care about into a terrible situation. And Gia will tell her she saw the gas mask in her bag. So no matter what happens in Gia's life, she knows the truth deep down. And she asked her, did you kill them, my mom and dad? And Sofia puts this down as it still was all an accident. And she sees Gia's cutting herself. And this really hits Sofia hard. And she tells Gia that her family deserved it. Don't beat yourself up because of them. You're going to find a new home. You deserve much better than what this family could have offered you. And this is a way she can somewhat justify in her own head what she's done to Gia, and that she's giving her a better path. But she cries outside, and it really affects her, this happening. And this is going to be one of the catalysts that's going to put a change in her, besides what Francis said to her. But this is the part where she realizes she's not her father, doesn't want to be her father, even though she has obviously a little bit of her in him, that she has to go a different way. She's not built for that part of it. Now, when Salvatore Maroni takes Penguin to his headquarters, Penguin just tells one of his guys to hit the lights, and all hell breaks loose. Maroni really didn't think this through at all. And I also wonder, when Maroni's fighting Penguin one-on-one, he never just goes for the legs. He always just punches him up top, which is kind of silly. But I love Colin Farrell's acting here as the Penguin when he had to get in before Salvatore dies. I beat you, Sal. I win. Proceeds to taunt him while he's dead. And I love the reflection on his face, really looking like the Penguin with that water tone. And I love the shot they did here from the ground perspective, seeing him shoot Sal multiple times and his head moving. And he also takes Carmine Falcone's ring back and he wears it, so he can start doing his little collecting there of trophies. Now Penguin will call Sofia, tell her that Sal is dead, and he offers her the whole empire for his mother. And she knows this is a trap right away. And Sofia will tell Julian her frustrations. She feels like she's in a giant loop. Walked out of an institution into another one. She's like, I'm playing my father's game. And then Julian asks her, what does she want? And she says, I want to be free, and I want Oz to feel pain, real pain, the kind I have felt. I need him to suffer. So we see is taking out his empire, what he built, the drug operation, all those men, with what she's about to do at the end of this episode, and it's setting up for next episode, dealing with the mom. And I love the line Sofia had when she called Oz when they were supposed to meet up and says, I keep trying on all these faces, but none of them feel quite right. So she's really finding her inner animal here, her own story and path. She tells him she'll have the present in the back of the car. It's a nice misdirect for him and the audience thinking it's his mom, but it's a bomb. And it goes off, and I love what they did with a great payoff was Penguin now has to go down the ladder he refused to go down with his brothers. And you see it, Sofia took his mom to where he danced with her that night at Monroe's, and she had told Sofia. So we get to see that flashback now when his mom was now grieving, but it's the night that Oz felt like his mom was coming back to herself and wanted to go dance with him. And you see the pressure she put on Oz as a kid, where she's like, I want you to get me everything I deserve. I deserve a happy life. So she wrongly put all her grief and worries and fears onto her son. That is where you feel the sympathy for Oz. And he promised her he was going to get it for her here. Now, Oz waking up after the explosion, he sees a Vic doppelganger, which I thought was hysterical. He's like, Vic, and it's just not Vic. But he gets hit by Sofia's guy, who used to be your father's guy, in the head. So it's setting up next episode where he's obviously going to be at Monroe's. We'll see where Vic ends up. But I think this is all leading to him, in honor of his mom, who I don't think is going to make it alive, wearing the top hat and having the cane in honor of watching that movie with his mother. And it also is a part of him, making him that darker path he went down. So I'm giving this episode an 8.7. I really enjoyed how it had a lot of good payoffs for the whole season about Oz and his backstory, and it sets up a really strong finale. This was a shorter episode for a penultimate episode. It might have not as been as exciting as a usual penultimate episode, but it's setting up an exciting finale in that case. The finale is supposed to be over an hour, so I'm really excited to see how they wrap this all up. I hope they can stick the landing. It's been a really, really enjoyable show. But let me know what you thought of this episode down below and your theories for next week. I love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Hit that sub button so you don't miss one of my reviews. I also do celebrity interviews as well. And I'll see you next time.